What's up, guys? Welcome to the 167th episode of the Grow My DJ Business podcast, brought to you by the Grow My DJ Business Discord, Digital Music Pool, and the Ferrari Production Academy. My name is Kareem.
Gary W here.
We have a guest. We've been teasing a guest for a few weeks.
Jeez.
Dainjazone, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm honored to be on because, to my understanding, you guys don't have many guests, right?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah, with the travel schedules and everything, it often gets tough. So
we'll have the homies pop in and like co-host when one of us can't do it, and that's sort of how we've been having guests lately. But yeah, I think like Jake Shore, we had Madison from 4 a.m. Those were kind of the last two, probably.
Yeah,
Angelo, right? You had Angelo a couple times.
Yeah, we've had Angelo for a while. We haven't had him in a while, actually. We probably should get him on here.
Yeah, check in on him.
So no, it's great to have you, and I think you were an ex-podcast host. So when I learned that, I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize that you were one of the co-hosts of the Mikey D Show. So what was your experience of being a podcast host? I mean, you're really great on camera and on the mic, so like you could kind of see how it would work. But what was your experience as a host? Did you like it?
It was fine. Well, for starters, when we first started Mikey D Show, it was like podcasting didn't exist. Like Joe Rogan was probably the only one who was really podcasting. So I feel like we were podcasting without even realizing we were podcasting, because our show at the time was once a week at DJ City in the studio, and we built this whole studio set. So Mickey and I really really went in on that, and then we had the collaboration with DJ City. But and then later on, right before the pandemic, we started the Mickey D's podcast, and kind of into the pandemic before we just like got too busy for it. But I think I always try to provide information. Like that's like I want to be as helpful as possible. You've obviously you've seen my Patreon, and I explain my sets, but I felt like where I was lacking was more entertaining. Like I really wanted to be more entertaining, and I thought Mickey being a little bit more looser helped the show. And then Rel was born and raised in New York. He came out here when he was 18. So he's like honorary LA, Los Angelino. But he's still so New York. And I thought this guy's going to be like everyone's favorite, person on the show, because he doesn't give a shit. He just like speaks his mind. So I felt like I could have done better in contributing to the entertainment side, because off the mic, we joke around, like, we talk shit to each other, but no, it's so you have these battles. I think every podcaster is like, God, how can I be better at this? Or what can I do? And I felt like it was fun, and I felt like I helped out as much as possible. But what's tough about that is, and maybe you guys can relate, is no matter how much you help, the listener still wants more info, more answers. They want things to be handed to them. Not all, just some. And it's just like, man, I don't know what else to tell you. I can't give you the gig. If I were the booker, sure, I'd book, but right. So that was probably the toughest things, like understanding how to connect with everybody. And it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where we found our niche, because we are bookers, just coming up with topics that are, troubles that we see throughout the week, and we just talk about the things that we're going through, and it really, I think it relates to up and coming DJs, because it's stuff to have them look out for in the future, and I think that's kind of where we found our niche, where it's not so entertainment like you're saying, like you alluded to, but like it's more just trying to teach up and coming guys, and what not to do and what to do. So
podcasting,
and
it's hard.
I got it, but what's I'm patting myself in the back right now, but I'm patting every DJ, podcaster, whoever, anybody like you guys that wants to help DJs, because when I was coming up, like I've been DJing since 2006 and started in Hollywood like 2007 or 8. But when I was coming up in that era, Twitter just began, and there were a lot of big personalities in the DJ community. Well, let me stop and ask you, how long have you guys been DJing?
I think my first gig was 2010, I want to say. 2011, somewhere in there.
Oh my God.
Okay, and Gary?
I don't even want to say.
So you were before me.
I've been DJ. Gosh, my first gig was 2000.
Okay, cool.
Probably.
So I say all that so I I can connect with you guys, or I can figure out where I can connect with you guys. Twitter pops off. A lot of big personalities are on Twitter, right? And everyone's really flexing their muscles, and everyone wants to be on an agency because that's like the gateway to all the bookings in the world. But there was just no one there to help. Everyone, whether they knew what they were doing or not, because I think a lot of guys would just roll out the hits and call it a day and be like, "I'm the best DJ, book me, 4K on the table, book me." But I'd be willing to say a lot of those guys didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were just right place, right time, and they didn't want to help. I think they didn't want to help because I think the whole DJ culture has always been, don't share your music. Like back in the days, they would hide the labels, right? They would put tape over the label so you couldn't see it. So you couldn't see the music if you tried, obviously way before
or AM
Shazam.
mode later on.
Or AM mode later on, yeah. So I feel like we've always like, no, it's mine. Don't let anybody else have the information or the answers. And I just was like, fuck it. Like, why not share all this information? Why not? I have the experience. I've been DJing long enough to say, hey, this is what I recommend. This is what I suggest. This is my experience. Like, so again, like hats off to you guys and everyone else who wants to contribute to the culture and helping, because there's a gap. There's something missing and I'm not trying to shit on the up and comers, but they think different. And I'm really not trying to say it's wrong, but there's a disconnect with the way they think and the crowds and the bookers. We can get into all that, I guess.
Yeah.
We started the pod during COVID for fun at first. And then we sort of took the same thing, right? Like you said, when we were coming up, we didn't have anybody to help us. So we used this as a platform to help DJs first during COVID. And then afterwards, just as far as how do you navigate being a young DJ? How do you navigate bookers and trying to book gigs and getting, into the industry more so than just someone who's dabbling, getting booked here and there, and really like how to be a professional, right? And this is all information that we can share. It's not any secrets. It's just a lot of it is just good business principles, being a good person, communication, like just very simple things that I think was easy for us to share. And Gary and I have like teacher families and teacher backgrounds. So like and coaching. So a lot of that it all kind of came together where we had an opportunity, we had time during COVID. And then we looked at it like, we didn't have that person to help us figure this stuff out. Let's help all these young DJs that we've gotten to know or we're booking, and let's help them be better. And it creates a better environment for nightlife and for DJs in general. And that was always kind of the mind state for us, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's where our heads were too. Like, we just wanted to help out as much as possible. Even though we didn't like have access to DJs like us, like we still wanted to be better than the guys that we came up under. Like we want to, how can we contribute to this culture?
Did you find that one thing that we found early on is that when we wanted a guest, we were like, we would think big and think about like these guys that we came up looking up to, and all we had to do was like DM them. They're like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll jump on the show. And like we were shocked. Like we would text each other and I saw like, oh my God, I can't believe he said yes, like immediately. Did you find that that it was easy to get guests? And then after you got guests, like, did you stay connected with them after the fact? And like, did it help you in the long run, et cetera?
Yeah. So at that time, and I think we started in 2000, I think I'm almost certain it was 2009. I think every DJ wanted to be heard and seen, and you really couldn't hear or see anybody outside of the club. So I think it was really easy to get guests on the show. We were, again, once a week, we had DJs come in and drop a set when we interview them. So, and thankfully we live in LA. And at the time, a lot of DJs were moving to LA because it helped out with their branding and saying they're from LA and then there was a lot of opportunities to get booked in LA as well. So we had within reach, just about every DJ, at least that was popular. You had your Deck Star guys, you had your Scam guys. I think I was the only one from LA on Mood Swing, because that was you guys would know, very much a New York based agency. And of course LMFAO was on Mood Swing, but like open format was just I think it was just me. But so yeah, it was kind of easy because everyone wanted to be heard. But the ultimate goal was to get AM. Like, I know if we can get Fashion, we can get Spider, we can get this guy, and this guy, AM will say, yeah, you know. Oh no, wait. AM passed before then. So I think I'm getting my DJs confused. I think it was a lead up to Vice or A Track or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, if we can get these guys, we'll get these guys, you know, because they all kind of know each other. So,
right.
But yeah, it really wasn't that hard.
Similar conversations here on this end too, and it's like you start out with some guests, get used to having a guest, because it's a way different dynamic for me and Gary to just have a conversation than when we bring a guest on, right? It doesn't change the show, so to speak, but it's a new third person, different perspective, and it's definitely, more prep. But once we got our first few guests, it was like, all right, well, let's get the next one, and let's get the next one, and then you create this resume, and it's a lot easier to then go to a Vice or an A-Track or someone like that than just saying like, hey, A-Track, do you want to be our first guest on this show we started? You don't even know who I am, but
oh man, you just reminded me. Winter Music Conference, Gary, you would remember how fun it used to be, like in 2007, 8. All the open format DJs went there, and it was a big powwow, and that's where networking was done, man. Like once a year, that was the best place to network, because it was a convention for book, how to get booked or be professional, blah blah blah. But few people went to that. But it was really about connecting with the DJs at the club and after parties. And Crooklyn Clan had their own party, and that's really where you connected with a lot of open format guys. Like I met Jay Spinoza there. So many New York guys. I met Riz and Sis there. But I remember talking to A-Track outside of the Fountain Blue. He's waiting for a car, and I'm just like, hey man, like we do this thing called Mikey D Show. We interview DJs, and he's just like, oh yeah, or like, he's very polite, but the energy I felt was like, all right, man, I've had a long day, just did a pool party, like. But like Mickey and I were out there getting footage. We did a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and we went to the Dim pool party. LMFAO. That's where I met LMFAO, was at Winter Music Conference, even though I would see them. I'd always see them in the club in LA, but that's where I really met the manager and those guys. But MOS, that's where I met them. But yeah, so we got a bunch of footage just to like validate us and solidify us in the culture. And that was posted on DJ City. Obviously, thousands upon thousands of subscribers and DJs would check that out. So that was also a part of like, validating who we are as a Mickey D Show.
Yeah, Miami always seems to be the best networking of the year. Always. You just meet the people that you may know from Instagram or online, but you've never actually met in person. And that's just one of those where Gary and I will walk away from there and be like, man, this was so worth it.
Yeah. Do you guys still go to what, Ultra Weekend or anything like that?
Yeah, we still go because a lot of our up and coming DJs that are producing, they want to be down there and they want to be giving out their music and whatnot, and we want to be there for support reasons. Yeah. Not as their manager or anything like that, because we're not managing like the music side of it, but just as support and like how to navigate parties. Like you said, nobody was there telling us how to do that. I was 20 years old going there. Actually, I was 18. I went there with my dad. That was the first WMC I went to. And like, obviously, like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how to go talk to different people and, from the industry. So like we like to be there for our 21 and 22-year-olds to be able to tell them how to navigate a party and how to go up to somebody. Because it's, especially with these kids coming up, they grew up with tablets in front of them. And sometimes communication's not the strongest thing. So like, being able to show them how to do that is important. So it's been really nice to be a help to the younger guys.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't see the West Coast guys in Miami as much anymore because I think South by Southwest is the same week now as Music Week.
Okay.
So I know a lot of the West Coast guys will go there instead of Miami, but we'll see. We'll be down there this year for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned LMFAO, and I know you were a tour DJ for Redfoo for a while. Is that right? So
yeah, for both for LMFAO and
for
Redfoo.
LMFAO as well. So what was
Because
that
when they
experience?
split up, I stuck with Redfoo.
What was that experience like? Is that something that you'd want to do again? And
Yes and no. A big no, because the travel schedule, we did 2012. We're talking peak party rock anthem, Sexy I Know It. So we feel like we're on top of the world, and we can do anything, get away with anything. Thankfully, I don't drink, so I was sober throughout it all, and I didn't do anything stupid. But that travel schedule was, so when we did America, it was like 2 months, and that was heavenly, because you're on a tour bus and you have 2, maybe 3 shows a week after party. Jump back on the bus, fall asleep, wake up in the next city. When you sleep on a bus, it's like being rocked to sleep like a baby. So the sleep is actually way better than a plane. And then sometimes we stayed in hotels, and it was always like a 5-star hotel, so we were pampered, and obviously well deserved. These guys worked their butts off. And so that was great. And then someone warned me, yeah, just wait till we go to Europe. I didn't really know what that meant, because I'm like, no, this is tour life. Come on, after parties, back on the bus, bed, whatever. And then someone else told me, I just can't explain it to you what it's going to be like. You got to find out for yourself. So I felt like I was in trouble. And lo and behold, it was the most exhausting period of my life. I've never been so tired. My eyes were burning from being tired. So like when people ask me what it was like, these are the first things that come to my mind. And if you're, in my circle of friends or my wife, you're probably tired of hearing this story, but it's the same shit every time. Like, my eyes were burning from not sleeping. It would literally be festival, after party, airport, and sometimes we had to drive an hour or two to the after party because of a radius clause. Airport, catch up to the tour bus at the next festival stop, land, go straight to the festival, because you got to get there like 3 or 4 hours before. And then you do that. You just keep doing that. You don't really check into it. You can't sleep on the bus during the festival because the music is pounding. You can't really sleep in the green room because there really aren't any long couches. You just have this hard floor, and then you're just like, screw it, I might as well stay awake. And I really wasn't into Red Bull, and for sure wasn't into coffee, so I just dealt with the pain. And then sometimes it wouldn't be a festival, it would be a club, but that was no easier, because you would land, sound check, and for some reason in Europe, it was never a smooth sound check. We always had to wait for a Serato box or a CDJ or a mixer, and we'd have to sit there for 2 to 3 hours in the club and just wait, and then go back to the hotel, freshen up, dinner, and then back to the club at 2 a.m. or whatever, perform, straight to the airport. So it was nonstop in Europe. And sometimes there were 2 gigs a day. One time there was 3 gigs in 3 different countries, so we had to take PJs. And the 3 days we had off, which were really spread out, like, it didn't even matter. Like, I tried sleeping all day. Like, I was in so much pain. Like, it just didn't matter. I didn't wake up like, oh, I feel much better now after 3 weeks, like, so it was very painful, but the experience, like, you're like dead lice throughout the whole day. And then when you're on stage and you hear that roar from the crowd, that hit is the ultimate feeling. And it just wakes you up, and it just, you're back, you're like, here we go. So like, that was fun, obviously, but I'd say my best moments, my favorite part of the tour was waking up in the morning and having a quiet breakfast with a cup of tea.
A little silence.
No one knocking on my door, not hearing the drama from the night before with this girl and that girl, or these 2 guys are arguing with each other because they're drunk. And it was just silent, and it was just the best feeling in the world. And then, your day would eventually start. But yeah, I mean, there's so many mixed feelings about touring like that. But a lot of highs and a handful of lows.
It's got to be some dynamic for you to be like the third person in that group, where like these 2 guys, have blown up, and I'm sure like their egos inflate a little bit, and then like as you say, they're drinking and you're sober, and it's got like that dynamic's got to be wild. And then and then throw no sleep into it, and then whatever other extracurriculars come along with that, like it's got to be exhausting just on the mental side of that. Like that part's got to be exhausting outside of the physicality portion.
There was a point where I would drink water and I can literally feel it replenishing my body because I was so dehydrated and so exhausted and my eyes were so tired. But yeah, like everyone in the crew had an ego, like even the dancers, because the dancers are kind of building up their own fan base and they feel they have something to say. And everyone's also, we know each other's personalities like the back of our hands. So we're just over each other. Like, I'm sick of this dude. He says the same shit. This guy has the same move. This guy does the same thing to get girls. It's annoying. I don't know why it bothers me, but his game sucks. Like the dumbest things would just annoy you about that. Now, when they separated and I went with Foo, it wasn't so demanding. It was like 1 week on, a couple weeks off, maybe a weekend on, a week off. So there was time in between. But there's nothing like that 7 weeks in Europe, and I never want to experience that again. Like, of course, I want to tour Europe again, but kind of do it in my own way. Like, I've seen John Summit. I don't really follow him close, but I saw him complaining months ago about he's just tired of touring, and you can say like, well, just stop. Like, but there's stuff on the back end that people don't really think about or know. It's like, you make deals with these guys. You don't want to upset the wrong guy because he also has connections to this, and your agents just like play along. And in order to grow the brand in this country, you got to show up. And I swear to God, in Europe, there is a festival. It felt like every day of the summer, all over France, all over Germany. Like they live and breathe dance music. They live and breathe festivals out there. Again, that was like 12 years ago. So I don't know what it's like now, but there's so much more than EDC. There's so much more than the big shows that you hear,
Yeah, there was a number came out early in the summer that like something like, I don't know, 4,000 something silly, like X amount of festivals got canceled in Europe. I'm like, how could that even be that there was this many festivals? So it's kind of funny that you're saying that now.
When I got the itinerary, I'm like, I've never heard of any of these cities in France, like or Germany, or like, and I'm just like, but then when you show up, it's the best crowds, and you're just blown away by how many people are there and the energy they have. And that makes sense because when we travel in the States, when we go to the college town in the middle of the country, it's usually the best crowd because they just want to party and have fun. And there's no ego about them. Like, you get the egos in New York and Miami and LA and San Fran and, along the coast. But, you don't get that in the middle of the country, and you don't get that in the small towns or the small countries in Europe.
So like, I'm in Orlando right now. Nobody comes through here. Right. So like, it's a big deal when somebody does come through and everybody goes out and supports, and it's a great crowd because they're there for the music. They're really into it. And then I go up to New York and you can go see anybody, like almost any day of the week. And you're just, and then you become a jaded New Yorker, and it's like, okay, well, whatever, I'll just go see the next guy tomorrow. It's not a big deal, So I could definitely relate to that.
For a while here in New York, we didn't have this many artists coming through. This is like a newer last 3, 4, 5 years type thing for sure.
Really?
I think Mirage is definitely a factor in that.
Say that again, Gary?
Mirage is definitely a factor in that.
Yeah, we have some newer venues that are now able to bring in some of the bigger artists, but there was definitely a dead period where there wasn't a whole lot going on here, and it was. When I would tell this to people, they'd be surprised at the same thing. It's like, it's New York. What do you mean? I'm like, well, there's just nothing going on here right now.
But, yeah, in New York, much like LA doesn't want to pay the rates of artists, just like London, they don't want to pay the rates. Like, I had a blast being in London, but I don't think Redfoo didn't make the money he would make in some other small town. And if we were in, like, if we had business in London, like a private, I remember doing private events in certain cities. And then just doing a club just because we're there. Like, we did a bar mitzvah in New York at the big museum out there in Manhattan. Was it Science Museum?
Yeah, Natural History.
Natural History. And we did it in the dinosaur section of it. It was us and Calvin Harris. So, these guys spend bread. And then the next day, Redfoo and his manager, or our manager, sitting courtside, Knicks versus Heat, when LeBron was on the Heat and the Knicks had Melo. So that was a hot ticket. So I know they spent money, but later on that night, we spilled into Lavo and did a set there. And, you can imagine, Lavo doesn't spend a lot of money. So it's like, hey, we're already here. Just feed us, and then give them some fried Oreos after the set, and we're good,
Those add-ons, those little add. That's how that's how those clubs made it, man. Just those little add-ons when artists are in town.
Yeah, but that's
and
LA's way to get people though that way. I mean, me and Gary were just talking about this for someone that made me an offer, and it was like, well, they offered to add on a second show, and it's like, is it worth it? How much should we ask for? Like, it can be beneficial, right? Because it's a night, you're already in the city. If you can tack on a show, like, why not, right?
Yeah, I'm always for that. As long as no one's feelings are hurt, as long as no one feels threatened, as long as there's no radius clause, like, sure. Yeah, I don't see why not.
I have a funny LMFAO story. Before I was really start DJing a whole lot, I was going to Jersey Shore every summer. We would rent a house. It's like a big party destination. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but there's a place called DJs, and they would bring in artists. And this is when, I want to say, I think it was when Party Rock maybe just came out, before like you guys massively blew up. And it was like one of the most memorable, fun shows that I can remember, because this venue is just a tiny little shithole with good sound on a tiny little stage, and literally everyone's just on top of the artists. And there was just like the most energy, the most fun. And like that one particular show just really stands out to me because of how fun it was, just being a patron.
Yeah, no, Redfoo is a genius. Like, everything you hear from LMFAO Redfoo was the master plan, he laid out the groundwork. He's like, hey, cousin, this is what we're going to do. Like, I've been going to Banana Split. DJ Am's been killing with this new EDM, underground EDM sound, Justice and all these guys. We're going to make music like that. And it's going to be cool and underground. And then it's going to like take over. So that was like Redfoo's master plan. Then he brought on Goon Rock, who was one of the main producers on Party Rock Anthem, and then he did a bunch of other stuff after with other artists like J-Lo and some others. But and Goon Rock would make the remixes. So it's like, this is also part of the master plan. We're gonna remix and bring this heavy underground electro sound to the mainstream, and we're gonna all these remixes are gonna go everywhere. And then we're gonna, when we do these parties, it's going to be like an experience you've never seen before. We're going to have all these stupid inflatables. We're going to throw out a bunch of whistles and frames, Party Rock frames. And it's just going to be one big party with a bunch of party favors. And I know every artist tries to do that, and DJs, we all try, but the way they did it was just pure genius. And then he took that the way you would throw intimate party in a space like DJs, he took that to stadiums and arenas. And if you ever been to an LMFAO show at its peak, it looks like organized chaos. It just looks like one giant party like you've never seen. Like, I understand bands, there's multiple members in a band, so they're kind of spread out and they're doing their thing. But like the way these guys did it, it just looked like an organized party. Multiple dancers everywhere, and it's balanced out. If Redfoo's over here, Sky's over here, they would cross, and this guy be entertaining this and that, and then a dancer will be throwing this out and giving a shot here. So it was just, the stage always looked balanced. And you would think, maybe even after seeing like rappers, they just go on a stage and they have their hype man and it's whatever. But you would think like they're just out there winging it. Like, no, man, like we would get yelled at after shows if we weren't in our right place, or if the song dropped a little too soon or something. Like, even though Redfoo was performing, he can still hear and see everything, which was just like mind boggling to me. Like, yo, you were looking over here at a girl. How did you see the dancer mess up over here? Like, he just knew, and then he would rewatch the tape. So again, part of the genius of what LMFAO was, like, it was bigger than that, than just, hey, let's just show up and have a good time.
Yeah, that sound was, AM brought that sound to my attention on the East Coast. Like that was all that electro sound was so West Coast, right? And I heavily got into it because of AM, Justice, and Kavinsky, and all that, and that banana
Kavinsky, yeah.
and that banana split party was like something I always wanted to go to. It's interesting that the evolution of Redfoo hearing that, because that was earlier on. That was like what, 06, probably 07 in that
6,
area.
7, 8. I
And
started going to them while it was still at LAX, and that was like 8, I think. And then it changed over to Bordeaux.
Yeah. And then he took it and ran with it. And like, what year was that LMFAO really started to come into their own?
Well, let's see. I'm in Miami, bitch was really the launch song, and that's all Redfoo on there. He wrote it, produced it, and I feel like I was at Winter Music Conference 2007 when that song was first out. Nobody knew about it. It wasn't a thing in Miami, but it was out. And I remember being at a scam party and Redfoo and Sky showing up. I'm like, oh yeah, those are those guys. They got my first introduction to them was I Can't Help It. The I Can't Help It, the girl. Like they did a remix to that. Okay. And I was like, holy shit, this is dope. So I knew them for that. And then a year later, I'm in Miami, is the biggest song at Winter Music Conference. And they're booked at Live. They're all over the place. So I feel like that was like 07 and then 08. Okay. Or it could have been 08 and 09. It might have been 08 or 09, but yeah, it was around that time.
Yeah, I mean, I completely lost track of like, when they came out. Like I thought it was later for some reason, but I mean, they just had such a great, start and then a good career after that.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to hear that even when you're on such a high level, right, and you have all these different things happening on a stage and you're traveling so much, that just having this really high level of just concern and a part in everything that's happening in what you're doing. And I think we can take something from that, right? And anyone listening can take something from that as far as when you're putting something out, when you're thinking about your brand and how you want people to perceive you, you can't just think of, what do I sound like as a DJ? There's just so much more that goes into it, and having just an interest in every aspect of your brand or business or whatever piece of content you're putting out matters, and it matters. And even the people at the highest level are thinking about it. The dancer messed up, like for something to work in harmony and work at a high level, everything has to come together and everyone needs to be kind of at their best. So I just think that's interesting to hear and should put into perspective or make us think in our own businesses and brands, like how can we put that to our work,
Yeah, so I think like one way of looking at it is like if you looked at LMFAO, Redfoo's brand, like your brand is your promise to your buyer. This is what you're gonna get when you book me. You're gonna get all this fuckery, you're gonna get all this organized chaos, and it's gonna be fun, and you're gonna be like, what just happened? That was the best night of my life. And that was almost a guarantee. Like Redfoo could go out and DJ or perform and just have his DJ next to him and call it a night. But I've never seen him do a show. Maybe once. I don't know if he's ever done a show without dancers or his crew, and a part of that is like, well, that's great that you have that. Then another part is like, man, we would save so much money if he just didn't travel with everybody. But that's what separated him from all the other DJs. You had this whole thing. But back to the branding, when I do my one-on-one sessions with my Patreon subscribers, I tell them you got to look at your Instagram like your EPK. What do you want the people to see? Sure, like I think it's cool if you're a family man and you want to post something up with your family once in a while, but what's going to get you the next booking? If you're a booker and you look at your Instagram, is this going to tip you over? Is this going to make me like, oh, I'm at least going to keep an eye on him or have him in the back of my head? I think you need to look at your brand like a Christmas tree. When you first get a tree, it's green, it's flat, like it looks cool, it's a tree, right? But your ornaments are the things that you add to your brand that's going to make it pop. So you got to decorate your brand with an EPK. You got to decorate it with a solid mix or maybe multiple mixes as time goes. You got to decorate your brand with quality, not even quality videos, just videos of you, in the club, and decorated with remixes and bootlegs. Like, there's so many things that you can do to convey the message, like, of this is who I am, this is what I represent. Like, I think we'll get into it later, but like my backpack house project, I'm as of late, I've been posting my sessions at least once a day with the hashtag backpack house, and just to create awareness. I'm not looking for really like you to like say something to me or whatever, but I'm just putting it in the back of your head, and you constantly need to remind people this is what's going on, this is what's coming. And I think what stifles us as DJs is we get in our heads, because if I do this, what's Kareem gonna think? Oh, I don't know if I should post this. What's Ryan gonna think? What's Vice gonna? What would AM think? Like we have these stupid conversations in our head. And if you want to have a high level successful brand, you can't think of what all these other DJs are gonna think about your, like, this is your brand. I can't tell you how many times I didn't post because I was wondering what my best friend Mickey Ward and DJ Rel would think. And then after a while, you just kind of let go of that. And you just say, okay, they may poke fun at you for this and that, but they'll get over it. The way you choose to react to it is up to you, but they'll get over it. So, and that's another issue that comes up with my one-on-one sessions is like, I tell every DJ, and they're like, man, you're right. Like, I'm too concerned about what other DJs think. And I get it. We talk a lot of shit. We got our chest out when we're tweeting something or when we're posting something. And then, but when you meet these guys in real life, they're like kind of like teddy bears, they're really like not that bad,
Yeah. I think another aspect of that is DJs think, oh, I already posted that, or I already promoted my song that just came out. And just because we posted it one time or promoted it one time, it doesn't mean that everyone has seen it. And it also
100%.
Like, you shouldn't be thinking about that you're promoting something for the people that follow you. You should be thinking about, I'm promoting something to draw awareness to myself. What can I do to bring more fans to understand my music or my brand or whatever I'm doing on social? And I think having that mind state will kind of get you over that hump as well, right?
Yeah, I have, I think, around 38,000 followers, and my stories probably average around 500 views. Like, you think everybody's seen,
Yeah,
like,
right.
Clearly everybody's not seen it. And I understand clearly not everyone's a real follower or a real person, but it's repetition. And sometimes I'll post the same stuff back to back days, and someone will reach out on the second day, like, oh shit, this is cool. And like, oh, you didn't, in my head, I can't help but think, you didn't see this when I posted it yesterday. But that's good, because that reaffirms that you got to keep doing it. You got to keep sharing. You got to keep showing. And I feel like the way DJs shouldn't think, like, I really don't want to tell anybody what to do, but I'm going to tell you this. You should not be thinking it's me versus you. You should be thinking it's me versus the algorithms. Okay. So if you see me post the same thing 7 times a day, you shouldn't feel threatened by it. You shouldn't feel any type of way by it. You should just understand Dainjazone's trying to do something here. He's trying to accomplish something. And I'm going to keep an eye on it, because if it works, I'm going to be like, hey, what did that work for you? What'd you do? And we just need to understand it's not us versus each other. We're all going to be fine. We're all going to get the bookings that we want if we do this long enough. But it's really us versus the algorithms and the internet.
I love that.
So go ahead, Kareem.
No, I was gonna say, I think I knew who you were for a long time, but I think we connected because I saw you posting your venue recaps and sort of going through your process of what's going on in your head and the songs you're playing and why you're playing them. And I loved it because I'd never seen anybody do it. It was super unique. And not only that, it gave everyone who was watching such great information into the mindset of someone who's doing this DJ thing at a very high level. So why did you start doing those videos? And did you think they would be as successful and as big as they actually are?
No, I didn't. I didn't know what to think. I just I started, like, the long story of it is I was on a Mickey D's podcast. I was talking about my set at the Grand, and they say, how'd your set go? And it's just like, oh, well, I started out by playing these 5 songs, and it was like hip hop songs at the Grand, which is, I did that on purpose because I know everyone goes in there and plays like house, I'm like, man, fuck that. I want to like, I want to like, this was 2019, I think, or something like that. So I wanted to just kind of separate myself. And I said the first 5 songs and I stopped and I was like, yeah, so it was a good night. And then Mickey and Rel, who again, when it's your closest people who like really have, who really like, who you really pay attention to, like their words mean the most. They have the biggest impact on you. So when I stopped and they both literally said at the same time, like, so what else did you play? I'm like, you guys are really interested in what I played? Like, usually like DJs don't want to hear what each other play because they may feel some type of way like, oh, that could have been my book, you're only there because you know the owner, like stupid shit like that. But I was like, oh, you guys are really interested. If you guys are interested, there might be a lot of people that might be interested in this too. So I did that, and then the fucking views just went through the roof, and the likes, and then everyone wanted to say. And this was like a year or two before I did Patreon, and I was just like, damn, that is fascinating. Like, I know people like instructional videos and they like stuff explain how to type videos, but I didn't think they would really like this, like that. And then I'm realizing like it also took a bit for me to get over the hump of what people will think to do that. Because like any other DJ, I'm like, someone's going to look at this and say, yo, you did it wrong. I wouldn't have done it like that. Your set sounds like shit. I would never play those songs.
I'm sure you get those comments too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And actually those are the videos that do the best because there's so much there's a fight, within, but that was another thing I had to get over. It's like, well, I'm over my friends. Cool. Now I just, let me just do this and just deal with what the community has to say. And I got over that. So like, you got to get over these humps as DJs. If you want to grow, if you don't want to grow, then don't. But yeah, so it took a lot for me to post that. And then when I got the reactions, like, I should do this more often. Like, I should make a thing of it. I don't want anything from anybody. I just want to share it. And the way I saw it is, you, the up and coming DJ, Afrojack, like, you're not going to take my set and use it in your set. Okay. Like, I think your natural instinct as a DJ is just, oh, instead of doing that, let me do this. Like, it was more of like a template of what I did. And and I always convey, like, this isn't the only way to do it. This just in the moment. This is, I had this set plan. I threw it out the window as soon as I plugged in. It's like, no, we got to go hip hop tonight. Hold on, so I don't feel threatened by anybody using the songs that I play because I kind of feel like we all use the same shit for the most part. But no, like, once I took that part out of it, it was easy to keep doing it and keep showcasing.
I've actually started to use it more as a learning tool as to why I go through my set. Like why I'm playing the stuff that I play, right? I hadn't really, before seeing your videos, really do this exercise. It's a great exercise to go through it and be like, well, this is weird. Why did I play this record here? And then it makes you think about the decisions that you make as a DJ and then where it leads you, 10, 15 minutes from there. So, a phenomenal social media tool, but also a great DJ tool, personally to use for yourself.
That's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I would always look back at my set, good or bad. I would on the plane ride home just be like, all right, yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. It was worth a try. All right, yeah, that was fine. Like, you just kind of go over your set. So I would do that. Like, why not share my thoughts? And there's videos where I said I gave this a shot, fell on its face. So this is how I recovered. Here's a nugget for you listeners. You guys would probably already know this, but for the guys that are up and coming and don't know, one thing I always convey and I look out for when I do a club is the first 10 minutes of you going on is usually mayhem, right? It's just like you got your hottest songs and you're peppering them with it. You're just hitting them with it. And then there's a relaxation period. There's like not a decline in a bad way, but the energy kind of drops. So that's the first 10, 15 minutes. So whatever you do after that, the way I think is keep it familiar and fun. Just don't expect them. Don't play the big sing along moments, or else they're gonna feel like they're forced to sing along and they're just gonna burn out. So, give them a breather for 5 to 10 minutes and you'll see that energy pick up. And if you don't see it within the next 10 minutes or so, start playing those songs and like a tap on the shoulder, like, hey, you good? You good? You get a rest? All right, come on, here we go. And that's like a part of controlling the crowd. It's like you take them on a roller coaster that you control. Now, there are nights where you just got to go with the flow of the crowd. Like, hey, man, they're just kind of in chill mode. I can do my best to get a reaction out of them, but I got to play it safe. No DJ likes to say that or hear that, but I got to give them what they want. And maybe later on, if they're drunk enough or they're feeling it a little bit more, I can get a little creative or get a little cute with it. But yeah, that's how I always look at my first 15 minutes. And then when I go out and see other DJs, I watch for that. I remember going to see a DJ in Vegas, and she went hot and heavy first 15 minutes. And then it was like the rest of the night was just this. And it just kept going. And like, I'm sure she got rebooked. And I know she got rebooked and I'm sure everything was fine. But the energy to me, like it just, just kept going down and down and down. And to me, it's like, I think a better way of looking at it is trying to get them back up and maybe she tried, I don't know. But I feel like you're playing all the right songs, just at the wrong time, or not clumped up with the other right songs. I don't know. There's like, again, there's no one way of doing it. That's just how I felt in that moment, and that's what I see from some DJs, especially up and coming DJs. Like they haven't quite figured that part out, like how to take them like this. They just want to do this the whole night. Like you can't.
What are some ways that you would play songs that kind of give them a breather, but they're still in it, right? Like what are some ways that you do that? Because I think hearing you, people might be saying like, all right, I get it, but like, what does he play to generate that?
So what I would do is, let's say typical open format night, that's up tempo. And I got to specify because hip hop DJs will watch this and be like, man, fuck that. But open format night, where anything and everything goes, I would go 10, 15 minutes out the gate. Very familiar sing-along stuff. I love it. Icona pop type shit, maybe Bon Jovi, but just familiar. You also got to remember, some people are still like getting their first drink in, so they're really not there yet. So you got to like keep that in the back of your head. So, okay, 10, 15 minutes in, I'm probably going to go down to 70 BPMs and play like Waka Flocka, play just very familiar 70 BPM stuff. And then maybe but like quick wordplay. The problem with DJs is when they go in the 70 BPMs, they let the verses ride on the wrong songs. Like, bro, all they want to hear, all they want to sing to is the chorus. Quick, that's where the New York kind of side of me comes in, is the quick mixing. Because in LA, we're kind of known for just like blending and being a little bit smoother about it. But I like the idea of having both in your arsenal. So that's when the quick mixing comes in, because with quick mixing comes energy. Playing the right songs during quick mixing picks up the energy, because maybe it's a little bit more of a hip hop crowd, which usually is the case with an open format room. Cool. Let's go hip hop. Okay. Oh, there you are. Now I got a little bit more of a rise at you. But the beautiful part about 70 BPMs is it's slow, right? So we're not doing this, but the energy is still up, because we know all of Waka's songs. We know, Plain Jane, or, whatever, Work by A$AP Ferg. So 5-10 minutes of that, and then I'm back to up tempo, and people are loosening up. It's getting a little bit more looser, and then I'll probably go down to 100 BPMs and go a ladies or something like that. And then that's around 12:40 or 12:45 to 1:15 is usually like the sweet spot, right? So that's when it's like, okay, I'm going back up tempo, and I'm hitting you guys.
Hammer time.
What songs that are even harder than what I started with, because again, unless I know that crowd is ready to go at 12 p.m., like your first song, they're still loosening up. So I'm coming with harder songs, and then just go with the flow of the night. Usually it's easier because everyone's looser and they're kind of down for whatever. But that's usually my flow. And sometimes it's inaudible. Sometimes I take the 100 BPM portion and rearrange it with the 70 BPM. You know, sometimes I'm like, shit, I need to start out hip hop. Like I started out the Grand with Dreams and Nightmares, and just because I felt like, you know what, this is what this crowd really wants right now. So let's do that, and then got into like okay, y'all awake now? You good? You ready? Okay, now let's get into the up tempo stuff.
I think that's good advice for young DJs, because sometimes I think as a younger DJ, there's a little bit of a tentative nature to change people's ears and go from like a 128 to a 70. You know, there's not, you haven't built that confidence in DJing enough to have the confidence to do that. And I find that when we're coaching some of our young guys or girls, that is the advice that we give. Like, okay, you just can't be flat all night. You know, the feedback from management was that it was okay. Well, how do you go from okay to getting the wow, that was a great job? It's just something as simple as changing people's ear, changing BPM, changing style or genre, you know, and having the balls to do it, you know, every 15 minutes or so, you know, and that's kind of how you could stand out and create your own, create your own sound.
I feel like DJs really know what their songs are capable of doing. That's another piece that is just almost as important as the other things I mentioned is, what is this song capable? Where does this song belong? Is it a filler? Is it your heater? Is it a cool song that you kind of want to throw in? Okay, if we're going to do that, what do I have to set that up properly, because if that falls on its face, you know, I got to have something ready to go on the back end that's going to pick the energy up. Like, you have to know the strengths of your songs. And within each song, there's strengths within the track. Sometimes I'll start a song off at the very end and then pick it up at the beginning or in the middle, or do like a quick wordplay thing, or do 2 bars right here and then bring it back to the middle. I think DJs really got to understand, like, and that comes into being creative. Like, you can do a lot more than just going 8 bars in and out. Another thing I love to share with the up and coming DJs is I had a set in Orange County that was where 10 minutes before I went on, this newer DJ played all the hits. I'm talking like Tremor, ASAP Ferg's Work, like he put it all on the table, and his boys behind him are like, oh, his boys are going crazy, and the crowd's going crazy, and I'm just like, all right. I wasn't even mad at him, because I'm just like, what are you going to do about it, Dainjazone? Like, we're not going to get mad. That's a waste of energy. What are you going to do to fix this? Because this is all bad. So what I did was I played 90 BPM Bad Bunny songs. And the reason why I did that was to bring the energy down. Let's reset the room. And because they're extremely familiar for that crowd. So they're catching a break, they're resting, and for the next 2-3 songs, they're singing their hearts out. So it's almost like we didn't skip a beat. It's just a change of tempo. We reset the room. And if you really paid attention, maybe you appreciate what just happened. And then it's like, all right, now let's pick it up. Let's get back into kind of like where we were, because you have to, there are certain parts of the night that call for it and certain parts that don't. And that goes for everything.
I love to hear this because it's like getting into your mind, right? It's getting into the mind of an open format DJ that's really knows his craft. And this happens to all of us, right? We all go through this. We've all been burned. We've all got on and thought that we were going to play all the bangers, and there was 20 people there, and it's like, what do you do, right? And I love the fact that sometimes I can jump on the set and I can play my intro and jump on the mic and jump on the stage and get everybody going. And sometimes I'm going to play R&B to start my set, because that's just what I'm going to do. It just fits with where we're at and what I think is going to work. And I think that's what's fun about being an open format DJ, for sure. But even within, if you're just an EDM DJ, there's still a way to do this, right? There's still a way to change people's ears. There's still a way to like dip and move into different things to try to elicit the response that you're looking for, or give them a breather, or get them hyped up, you know? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges as a DJ, but it also shows who the best DJs are, because the best DJs can navigate these different challenges, right? I just, that's what being a DJ is all about. So to be able to hear you talk about it and get into the mind of someone who's playing all over the country, playing all over the world, played the biggest shows, I think there's so much value from anybody listening and hearing that. So I appreciate the fact that you're giving out all this game for free. I think it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, hey man, I don't care. Like I just want everyone, to just have the opportunity to just have some fun with it and try different things. Like, why not? I did a lot of the same shit coming up as a DJ, and I thought I was good. But then it's like, looking back, it's like, fuck, man. But I had to learn on my own, much like I'm sure you guys had to learn on your own, because I wasn't asking Vice, hey, what do you do around this time? Or, I wasn't asking some of these big names like, hey, can you help me out here? Like, no, you show up, you listen. That's another thing for the up and comers. You got to show up, and you really got to listen to the set. Try and understand what story they're telling. I don't know if a lot of guys do that because they just want to get booked. If I just so happen to go to a club and there's an up and comer DJ, I'm gonna give him that respect and try and understand what story he's telling. And I'll figure out, okay, he doesn't really have a story to tell. Maybe he's just not there yet, but he's not really taking me anywhere. He's just kind of rolling out the hits, and there's no real game plan. But it's fine as long as people are enjoying themselves. Again, it doesn't have to be done one way.
I'm going to say let's pivot for a minute, because I got a question about just kind of general nightlife right now. Like we're kind of seeing in our market, at least, kind of a dip in just the popularity of nightlife as a whole. And we're seeing more artists and more DJs throw their own parties. I wanted you to talk about your party rock party a little bit, and kind of how that's going, and traveling party, and just talk about kind of the history of it, and how that came together.
Yeah, so like I already talked about how crazy the parties were with the LMFAO, and then we used to do party rock parties away from LMFAO back in the days as well, but there was like dancers and like a whole routine to it. But I feel today, because this is a trickle down from the record pools, the record pools suck. We're not hearing from talented artists. We're not, like, compare with the music you were downloading in 2010 to today. Like, there's just no competition. You can only use a handful of it in a club. Back in the days, there was too much good music, too much, and it was a moment, much like funk and disco, right? Electro pop was a moment in club era, in pop culture, and I felt that was the party rock era. Like, LMFAO led the way with that shit. I mean, maybe some artists had more hits, but LMFAO they brought electro pop to your living room, right? So I think a lot of people miss that high energy feeling. I think we're still remixing a lot of those Lady Gaga and Flo Rida songs, and LMFAO and whoever, Pitbull. We're still remixing those songs today, and they are the biggest songs of the night. So I thought, this is an international brand. Why not take this on the road? It's not just setting up shop, plugging in, and saying, here are electropop hits. I'm also bringing the party favors that we used back in the days, the blow up animals, the giant zebra, like literally the life size giant zebra, the party rock frames that you see Redfoo has always worn, and Redfoo's head on a stick. And then I also bring T-shirts for the staff to wear, because it's a takeover. It's as best as possible. We are taking over your club with sound, with party favors, and we want the staff to look the part as well. So that's really what it is. And man, I'm telling you, if there's one thing people love in the club, it's party favors. Free shit.
Stuff. Free shit.
A glow stick, a freaking wristband, a pair of glasses. Don't let me throw out a blow up animal, like an inflatable. They lose their shit to it. And I think and it sounds childish, it sounds ridiculous, but I feel like clubs need to pivot and get a little bit more creative, because opening up your doors and saying we have the hottest club in the city isn't working anymore for most. And I think that's what makes the party cool and unique. And the brand is just like, it's an internationally known brand. So what Redfoo wants, like, and of course he co-signs on it, and he doesn't show up. This is just all me, but he wants party rock to be in the college towns, and if we're gonna do the big cities, it's just got to be a hot venue. But yeah, man, it's a really really fun party, and I think theme parties are the way to go right now, because if I'm a consumer, I go to an open format club, I don't really know what I'm gonna get. I'm probably just programmed to go there. And I think that's why a lot of people, maybe they decide to just pop in at HQ. Like, let's just go to HQ tonight. Like, let's just make the drive and let's just go. And like, I've heard that from people that work at venues like that, where it's like, people don't buy tickets until the day of. They don't care who's on the bill for the most part. Obviously, some acts sell better and quicker, but yeah, I think people, when they see a theme party, like an R&B party, that's exactly what I want to hear tonight. Electro pop, that's exactly what I want. Reggaeton, that's all I want to hear tonight. So I think people are figuring out like where they want to go, where they want to be, what they want to listen to, as opposed to, hey, it's a roll the dice, like you're gonna get what you get, and you can't tell the DJ other.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot on the show, where it's just people sort of want to know what they're gonna get. And they want to go somewhere where they're going to hear the music they want to hear. And if they're going to spend money, they better hear the music they want to hear. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why that theme party is working. In regards to throwing like a party like the Party Rock Party, what's some advice you can give someone out there who's saying, man, I want to start my own party, but I'm not really sure how to do it. I'm not really sure how to get it going. What's some advice you can give to those people?
Figure out marketing, figuring out how ads work. I mean, a little hypocritical for me to say, because that's not something that the Party Rock Party dives into. We're just like what you're gonna get. You book us, you have your crowd. I thought I wanted to build out, like we had a few meetings with Live Nation to do this, and we're like, we're not there to where we can just put our name on a billboard and have people like this takes time to build. But with that being said, I think DJing should be your least concern. It should be about marketing, understanding how ads work on TikTok and Instagram. It's understanding what videos work best. It's just understanding how to connect with people when you're throwing your own party, and it should probably start out somewhere small and intimate, and build out.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Create a small group of fans, and then you can build from that for sure.
And get with the group, because what I'm learning is, like, again, I don't want to be responsible for everything that goes into throwing my own party. What I'm learning is when I look at the Altura party out in Vegas, and they travel, they do very, very well. There's a whole team. There's like 6 people behind the scenes you never heard of. You see like Dirty Dave and Exile, but there's a whole team behind that really push the buttons and that really understand how to make this shit move. So I would say get with people that are really excited about this and excited to learn, and maybe have a little knack for, advertising and marketing and stuff like that.
Has throwing the party helped your just like getting booked regularly, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a few people or bookers that have seen that party and just like that have more interest. And like, to say like that party got me booked over here for a Dainjazone set,
right?
I don't think so, like, if I'm being honest. But there are people that reach out and say, we want that Party Rock party here. What does it take? And like there's some things to check off, and it's really not up to me. It's up to Foo. And then we talk about it with CS3, the agency I'm on, and we see what they think. But it's really up to Foo, and his team, when it comes down to where we throw these parties, because they really can't just be anywhere.
Right.
One of the other things that we want to talk about this, me and Gary, but I figured you'd be a good person to talk to this about. So not only are we seeing more like themed parties in nightclubs, we're seeing DJs and artists, local or bigger artists, sort of throw these random parties coffee shops, pizza places, bagel stores, record stores, like corner store.
It's awesome.
Yeah, like, is this the future of where we're going for nightlife? Like, what are your thoughts on those parties? Why do you think they started, and will they continue?
I think these parties started for a few reasons, because the guy throwing the party probably wasn't booked by the clubs, so it's a big FU to the booker, it's a big FU to the club and the promoters, because I think like New York, like LA is very promoter driven. The club, you can't do anything in the club without the right promoters there. It'll fall flat on its face. So it's a big FU to the promoter. And I think DJs they just want to do something different. Like, why can't we experience this awesome music, this awesome genre, whatever genre? Why can't we experience it, without the hangover, or just in a setting where I just kind of want to just have a conversation and vibe? And I think this is like how I think older, not to like say we're old, but more mature and older DJs are thinking like this, and even agencies or record labels, because I think some record labels put money behind these events, but I think this is just their way of just doing something different, and not it's just the same old. And then when we were doing clubs in 2010, it was peak, right? And people will go and drink, and it was just the whole thing. People don't necessarily think like that anymore. Like, they're popping edibles, they're having a different kind of experience with music, and it doesn't call for them to stay out to 2 or 3 a.m. and to get shit faced, So I think people want to experience it in different ways. Like, I was supposed to go to this AM.radio event in Venice Beach last week, and I couldn't make it. But that guy posting, his brand is called Put You On. The party is a monthly party called AM.radio. Guy's name is Steve Cardigan, okay?
That is one of the parties that I was thinking about, because I thought that was super.
You've probably seen it go viral.
Yeah, it was going crazy on TikTok for sure.
On Instagram, over 100,000 shares, over 100,000 likes, I think, and over 2,000 comments. And it was just a simple, club culture is dying. People want to experience music different. This is what we're doing at this coffee shop in Venice Beach from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Sick.
Okay. And I'm starting to go through the comments, and I'm seeing DJs I know. I'm not saying they're wrong for this, but they're like, bro, this shit would never work in my city. And this is how I read it with this voice. Bro, this shit wouldn't work over here.
That's the angry DJ voice.
This sounds like an LA thing. Freaking liberal. There's like everything came out, And I'm just like, nah, man, y'all are wrong. Like, this, you're just programmed, and it's fine. But if you get the right people together, the right marketing plan, you could probably do this just about anywhere. It's just who's willing to risk it, who's willing to jump in. But yeah, like that, I saw the videos. You saw the videos of that party. There were over 1,500 RSVPs, 1,700 on the waiting list. I'm telling my friends, like, yo, if we go, we got to get there at 9:30 a.m. Like, and I know it's a coffee shop, but so it's not very big. Like, we got to get there. I'm not trying to wait for my cup. Like, I'm purposely not going to drink a cup of coffee before I go. So I'm not trying to wait without a cup of coffee in me, at 9:30 a.m. or 10 a.m. But no, it's the future, man. Like, why should we be confined to experience music one way? Like, there's so many different ways of doing it. You see Diplo does his run into, 10K into a fun outdoor day party thing. Like, why not?
I think this is just how this next generation wants to party or consume music or go out and do, and we as DJs can kind of take advantage of that instead of fighting it, right? Take advantage of what the customer is telling you that they want. They don't want to drink that much. They don't want to go to a nightclub and stay there till 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. as much as they once did. But they definitely want to go grab a coffee and listen to house music, right? Like, I think it's what customers are telling us or fans are telling us that they want. And I want to try and do something cool like this because it's not happening here. And I think it could work. And I just think it's something different that could create a buzz. It's not the standard thing that's happening. It doesn't have to be all the drinkers. It could be any age. It could be, it just opens up the possibilities for the type of party that you can throw. And we're seeing this. We saw the Twitch stuff happen. So we're seeing these other avenues of being able to create a name for yourself, or just be able to go play the music that you want to play, which is also part of it.
Yeah, I think you know what really put this in motion, and this is probably a conversation for another day or amongst your DJ friends, but day parties really fucked it up for nightclubs. Vegas, before there was rehab, because rehab really set it off, and they did a whole documentary about it. But before there was rehab, like in Vegas, people would stay out to 5, 6 a.m. and then go to Dre's after hours. And then when day parties started popping up, people stopped staying in the clubs as long. So that messes with your revenue. And then not only do they stop staying in the clubs for so long because they either day partied the whole afternoon prior to that. So some of them probably didn't even make it out to the club, or the next day they had a day party to go to because Tiesto was going to be there or someone was going to be there. So they didn't want to stay out till 3 a.m. They wanted to be a little more conservative. And then so you're experiencing music during the day. And I think that is a part, I'm not saying the only reason, but a part of why we are where we are today. And then you mix in like just experiencing music differently. I can watch some of these videos and I'm like, fuck, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
It looks like a vibe. I don't care if there's 5 people there. I'm looking at the people and they're just like, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, man. Like that, maybe this is just me in my old age talking, but I'm just like, that looks like a vibe. That shit looks dope. Like I would love to be a part of that. I think it's a number of things that have gotten us to this point, but why would you want to fight it? Like there's always going to be changes, like whether you know it or not, like this is happening and you don't have to get on board, but why wouldn't you want to get on board? Like what is it going to hurt your ego? Is it going to mess up your bottom line? Like why aren't we doing this everywhere?
I'm
excited to see what else is going to come of it. I think it is the future, and hopefully I want to be part of it.
Gosh, if I'm a Nightlife owner right now and I'm listening to this, I'm shitting myself.
They're already shitting themselves, though.
They got to think differently, man.
They have to pivot so hard right now because it's something else. Like within the last 6 months, like it's a real thing. Like you really have to come with something different, something new, and keep people entertained. Like just thinking really outside the box. But a lot of owners are old school and they're just not thinking that way, you know?
And I think that's the problem. Like any major corporation, no matter how big you get, you always have to have someone on the ground figuring out what the trends are, understanding, and hopefully you're paying him or her handsomely to do what they're doing, because if it's not for them, they're going to struggle to keep afloat. But owners really need to get out of their own way and trust their DJ's ear. I mean, as long as there's like not a compromise of a swap involved or anything like that, because sometimes that gets a little weird. But you got to trust your DJ or your GM's ear and be like, hey, this is what I'm noticing. Let's do something like this. Why not do something cool like this? We can set it up on the rooftop, we can set it up on the patio, or we can do it somewhere else. Like, let's just create a vibe and let's just throw some shit on the wall and roll with whatever sticks,
Yeah.
But they're just like, it's fine. Work harder. Figure it out. Work harder.
We're doing I know like 360 parties have kind of been happening for a little while now. No one's done one in Jersey or anywhere that I know of in this area. So like we're throwing one this weekend, and it's like I just want to do it because it's cool and different and fun, and hopefully it brings some people into the venue that maybe would never have come. And like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And like I'm gonna do all the legwork. I'm moving all the equipment. I don't care. I'm just trying to do something different. And I hope more people listening are willing to take the extra step to make something cool happen, because we do need it. We need more cool shit happening in our markets to kind of give us a little more life,
I'm very concerned for the culture of DJing, not so much DJing, but open format. With a lack of music, new music to play, to entertain, we lose interest from consumers. Because now the conversation is, I don't want to go out because there's nothing really I really care to hear. When that Rihanna song dropped, or who insert whatever artist from way back when, I got to hear this in the club. I got to go. This is my shit. I got to hear Starships outside. I got to hear Party Rock Anthem at Marquee. Like, people look forward to those moments. The last time I felt like that was actually before that, I can't remember, but recently was They Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Like when that shit dropped, I'm like, I gotta hear this I gotta see what everyone does to this. Like, this is great. Like the momentum from this, the energy behind this is crazy. We don't have any real energy behind a lot of the new releases. And that trickles down to the open format. Now, the open format DJ has to be more creative. We have to throw unique parties and old school parties. And that stuff is eventually going to, I don't know if it's going to run its course, but it may grow stale because I can only play so many of the same songs for so many years from the electropop era, right? Like, so what's the pivot for open format DJs? And I really think DJs, open format DJs specifically, need to start producing. They need to learn. They need to start making bootlegs like you guys, like a lot of the guys that we were cool with. And they need to start there and start building a brand and reputation from that, and eventually get into house music. Like I'm conclusive about that because the way it's going to happen, what's going to happen if shit doesn't change is you're going to peak at your $1,500 a night, 2,000 maybe, and you're going to lose momentum somewhere. You might lose momentum if you don't stay on top of your brand, and then you're going to have to settle for $500 for 4 hours in a night, which is cool if you're hungry for that, if that's what you want. But when you start getting older and you're thinking about savings and a family and kids and doing your part and doing, like it's you look at it a lot different. So for the up and comers that love what's going on, they love DJing 8 hours a day, 4 hours at the day party, 4 hours at night, and they made 800 for the night, for the day, and they're feeling themselves cool. Understand, like, you're only as good as the tools that are given to you. And right now, we're not getting a lot of good tools. And it doesn't look like the labels are like, hey, let's think about the open format DJs and give them stuff they can play in the club. Like, no, music today is made for Spotify. It's not made for you to play in the club.
Yeah.
And now you got Afro House. It's made to vibe to. It's not made for the club. It's made to vibe to. So what do you want? Where do you want to experience that? On a rooftop, at a coffee shop, at a cool party where it's like I can pop a freaking edible and just chill, So yeah, that's my concern for the culture of open format DJs.
So you brought up production. Let's get into your production. And I know this is something that you said, like, I've had to do, right? I had to get into this. I felt like I needed to start making more of my own music. So you created what you call Backpack House, and you sent me some of it. I'm like, this is dope. This is like, I'm into this. So explain what Backpack House is, and explain a little bit about your strategy with your music production.
Yeah, so Backpack House is a fusing of hip hop and house, and you're probably thinking like, all right, we've been doing that shit for a while, but my focus is on, like, if you were a hip hop head, you remember the Backpack era, and even some of those Backpack producers were chopping up songs for R&B, like Kanye did some songs for Brandy and Alicia Keys. So it's just like that era, that appreciation, that the culture of chopping up beats and infusing it over house drums. Like the front end remix I sent you, it's very choppy. It's vibey, it's like, it's groovy. Not all of them are going to sound like that, like this Quiet Storm and the other Mobb Deep song. Oh man, drawing a blank, but there's two Mobb Deep songs that I've been posting on my stories where I just let the chords ride. I just let them loop. And it's just, it's not so choppy, but it still fits the whole Backpack House sound. And I understand, like, there probably aren't a lot of music heads out there that love Backpack and love house. And there's probably like a very small niche, but it's definitely about catching a vibe on some shit that you're familiar with. And if you're not familiar with it, the soul samples in it, the funk in it, the groovy, the funky bass line, you immediately connect with, because you've kind of been listening to that your whole life, whether it was in a hip hop song or an original funk or disco song. So it's not something like that I had this master plan. It just kind of hit me. It's just like, oh, I've never heard it like this. Like, I sent you guys the Hustle original, which is really a remix of Freeway's What We Do. And I sent it to Sac Noel, who hears everything before I put it out. He's like an angel on my shoulder, and just kind of guides me. And he's like, bro, I've never heard anything like this. Like, this is Dainjazone. All that other shit you're doing, like, it's fine. Bass house, cool. Knock 2, I get it. Shine Giles, I get it. Like, it sounds cool in a club, but this is you. Like, this is Dainjazone. This is hip hop. This is house. And I've never heard it like this before. I think you should really lean into this sound. So it's like I'm creating an elevated experience with this sound.
So this was
and it's all in the works. It's all, haven't even created a logo yet, or like it's flowing into 2025.
So kind of an original thought or an original concept from you. And like, are you drawing influences from anywhere where you're like, okay, like I kind of like this and I like this, like outside of just backpack and house? Like, is there an inspiration? Is it maybe a little Afro or an Afro artist, or where do you have influences coming from?
Like the tech house stuff, like I still pay attention to that. Like what I'll do is I'll go on Beatport and I just listen to whatever the top 100 is. I just try and listen to as much music as I can. I don't think there's one particular guy that I'm trying to mimic or producer I'm trying to sound like. It's just going with the flow and feeling and going with what feels right. Like, because your ears won't lie to you, or your gut won't lie to you. I'm still training my ear to like trust myself and go with, what feels, and then send it to Sac. Like, what do you think? But no, there's no one in particular or no like specific sound. I just try and absorb as much as I can and find the pockets that sound good for the song that I'm remixing or I'm trying to make an original of.
It's sort of pulling the things you love, right? It's some of that throwback hip hop stuff that you love with the new house music, and you've created your sound. And finding your sound is always the hardest part about making music, right? So now that you have your sound, you can you're doing a style of music that you like and makes you happy, and it just connects you to the music more. And I just feel like as a producer, when you're making music like that, you're making the best music you can make because it's you believe in it and you love it, and it's stuff that you really like. And when I see someone, we talk about some of our artists and some of our producers that kind of have starting to find themselves, I just love to see it, because usually once they find it, the music it gets better. It's better and better and better. And every release gets better. And it's really hard to find that sweet spot. So I'm excited to hear what you put out, because it seems like you sort of found that sweet spot. So congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. And there'll be more, like, if anyone's interested, they can just DM me about it, but more information will be revealed. Like, I just want to put a master plan together. I mean, I want to do a mix of all of it. And I think I have 15 or 16 songs done, but I want to get at least 20 and then have a mix ready for the top of the year. And, I actually want to do it on 5 and Deluxe's YouTube. They have their open house sessions. Mm-hmm. So I talked to Deluxe about it, and I said, just like, I want to do something, but just give me time. I still want to finish these songs. So when come next year, man, there's going to be so much to share in regards to that sound. And I think it'll connect with the open format guys, because I think we all grew up listening to some form of hip hop. If you're younger, you at least caught the tail end of that backpack era, Kanye and Common and all those guys, Mos Def, Alicia Keys, like her in the thick of her stuff. So yeah, I think I'm excited. Like, I'm really excited about putting this thing out.
It's awesome, man. Let's promote the Patreon. So how can people tell us a little about what's on the Patreon? What can people go and find when they go check you out there?
Yeah. So my Patreon, like, if you like those minute, 30-second breakdowns on Instagram, well, I give even more answers to the set. And it's basically, I try to keep it short, but it always ends up being 10 minutes of me explaining what I did. I get into the songs I played. I tell you why I played it, what happened, what was supposed to happen, how I pivoted, why I pivoted. Like, every thought that I can remember that crossed my mind, I walk you through it. I have the set list there, so I go through my set list and I tell you what songs did what. So there's that tier. I have my remixes on. I also like to share my friends' remixes. That's also in a lower tier. I do my best to put them on. So I share what they have, obviously with their permission. And then I show the set list. I provide the set list if they're interested in that. And then I also do one-on-ones. Let's talk for an hour once a month, and we can get into anything you want to discuss. EPKs, like we can just rap for an hour, and then that's my Patreon is dedicated to the consumers, dedicated to the DJ, and I feel like I can answer everything there. If not, I don't know what to tell you. Like I put it all on the table for you guys. I don't, I just, and it's just my interpretation of it. Been doing this for 18 years. I've seen the waves. I've seen it all. So I feel like, I can share a thing or two.
Awesome, man. Yeah, guys, go check out the Patreon. We'll link to it in the show notes, and everywhere, the email we send out, everything, will have links for the Patreon. Anything else you want to promo?
Man, I feel like I was so long-winded. I know you guys wanted to keep it down, but I'm just like, I know you guys have more questions to ask, but I'm just like, nah, I was too long-winded on a lot of answers.
You're good, bro.
We definitely went over.
We're good.
Yeah, no, man, like everything's out there. I appreciate you guys for having me, and I'm always open to conversation, and I think we need more conversations like this so everyone can hear. Next guy you may have on may sound exactly the opposite of me, and that's awesome.
Right.
Anything we always like to give our guests or anyone that we have on sort of like a platform. Is there anything any advice or anything you want to convey to someone listening that might be trying to level up or get to the next step in their DJ career or production career?
From a DJ standpoint, because you all want bookings, we all want bookings. Learn how to figure out how to be charming. Figure out how to talk to people, because your relationships will get you in the rooms you want to be in. Because you're a nice guy, will get you in rooms you want to be in. You may hate hearing that, but this is the world we live in. So why not play the game? And the game is fun. When you figure it out, the game is fun. But learn, just learn how to interact. And everyone loves a charmer. I'm not saying you got to flirt with dudes, but learn that skill set as a human. From a production standpoint, even if you're not inspired, just make stuff, and you'll find something along the way. And make stuff, because you'll learn the ins and outs of your program. You'll learn the ins and outs of music as you're just making stuff. And then someday you're going to be hit with inspiration, and you're going to say, this is what I want to make. Backpack House. Okay, I know everything I need to know because I've made a bunch of other stuff. So this shouldn't be hard, because I know how bass lines work. I know what snares should sound like, or EQing and all that. I learned that doing stuff I didn't really care for, or I thought I once cared for. So just create and go with the flow, and also give yourself a chance to breathe. Take time away from DJing, take time away from producing, and when it feels right, jump back in. That's it.
It's great advice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Dainjazone, appreciate you. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the pod. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay,
Peace.
Peace.